All right, let's dive into something that touches every single one of us: suffering. It sounds heavy, I know. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if our deepest wounds, our biggest heartbreaks, aren't just scars? What if they're actually openings? Places where light and meaning and a deeper sense of life can finally get in.
I mean, just think about it for a second. It doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, or where you live. This is the one great constant. Loss, failure, grief, illness, it's just part of the human experience. So, it's really not a question of if we're going to face it, but when. And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If we know for a fact that we can't dodge it, that it's coming for all of us, then what's left? Well, the only thing that matters is what we decide to do with it when it shows up at our door. This isn't about finding some clever way around the pain. It's about finding a way to move through it with some kind of purpose. So let's start there. Let's try to completely reframe this whole thing. For the next few minutes, let's stop seeing suffering as just some terrible problem that needs to be solved or fixed. Instead, let's look at it as a deep, unavoidable question that life is asking every single one of us. And just so we're all on the same page, when I say suffering, I'm talking about the whole range of human hardship. Getting sick, losing someone you love, failing at something you poured your heart into, that deep sense of grief. These are the things that feel like they're the total opposite of a good, meaningful life. But are they really? I mean, think about the people you really, truly look up to. It could be a famous historical figure, or maybe just someone in your own life. I'll bet their story isn't about how easy and comfortable their life was. No way. Their stories are almost always about endurance. They're about people who faced incredible hardship and somehow managed to respond with dignity, with courage, and even with love. Their greatness wasn't found in avoiding struggle. It was forged right in the middle of it. And that brings us to this really fascinating idea, the paradox of pain. It just seems wild, right? How can something that feels so destructive, something that feels like it's literally breaking you, also be the very thing that can make you stronger, deeper, and more whole? You can see that tension right here. On the one hand, our immediate experience, you could call it the illusion, is that pain just makes our world smaller. It steals our joy and makes us wonder if life is even worth living. But if we can hold on, the reality can be something totally different. That pain can become the soil where meaning grows. That grief can become a story of endurance, and that questioning can actually become a doorway to a total transformation. So you see, hardship, in a way, is like this intense, clarifying force. It just burns away all the nonsense, all the trivial things we thought were so important. In those really raw, difficult moments, we're left with what truly, deeply matters. And that's often when we find a kind of strength inside ourselves we had no idea was even there. Okay, this next part. This is maybe the biggest idea we're going to talk about. It's about our own power in all of this. Because in the end, it's not so much about what happens to you, but about how you choose to respond to what happens. Seriously, just picture this. The exact same tough event happens to two different people. For one person, it becomes the source of a deep bitterness that poisons the rest of their life. But for the other person, that same event becomes the very thing that forges their resilience. The event didn't change. The response is what changed everything. And wow, does this quote from Viktor Frankl just hit you right in the chest? Here's a man who survived the Holocaust, who saw the absolute worst of humanity. And his conclusion? That even when they take everything from you, your home, your family, your freedom, there is one thing they can never take: your ability to choose your attitude. We can't always control our circumstances, but we always get to choose how we're going to face them. So, choosing our response can build our own inner strength. That's huge. But what's really amazing is how our suffering can also build our connections to other people. It's another one of those paradoxes. The very thing that makes us feel so alone can actually be what binds us together. So, how does that even work? Well, it starts when hardship just strips away all our masks and our pretenses. It makes us real. And when we're in that raw, vulnerable state, we suddenly recognize that same vulnerability in other people. That's it. That's where real compassion comes from. It's not born from pity, it's born from shared experience. And from there, real solidarity and kindness can begin to grow. I love this next line. It just frames the whole thing so beautifully. Look, we all want pleasure. Of course we do. It's what makes life feel sweet and enjoyable.
But it's our journey through suffering that gives life its depth, its richness, its meaning. You need both.
Which brings us to our final idea. And it's a really powerful way to think about our own pain and what it might actually be for.
This, right here, is the heart of it. It's a total shift in perspective. Instead of seeing our wounds, those places of our greatest pain, as just ugly marks of damage, what if we started to see them as openings, as the very cracks where light and empathy and wisdom and growth can finally find a way to get inside? So in the end, we're all left with this choice. Because hardship is coming, for all of us. That's a given. The only real question left is the one you see right here. When it comes, what will you let it do to you? Are you going to let it hollow you out, leaving you bitter and smaller than you were before? Or will you find a way to let it enlarge you, to deepen your capacity for meaning, for love, for life itself? That choice, that's always yours.